5:15, so I'll call the Law and Ordinance Committee meeting to order. I will move to excuse Councilperson Baker.
Second.
So moved. Councilperson Baker is excused. All other committee members are present. I will move to approve previous video meeting minutes.
I'll second.
So moved. The previous video meeting minutes have been approved. We have one item under open issues concerning a traffic control map amendment that Councilperson Baker wanted to address. So I'll move to keep this item open for further discussions at our next regularly scheduled committee meeting.
Yeah, I agree. Second.
So moved. The traffic control map amendment will remain open. We have two new items under new business, both concerning enacting new legislation. Did you receive the forwarded information? So the first is concerning enacting a new section 145.09, regulations of parklets within the city rights of way. I had no notes on this other than that I think this is a great reason to enact new legislation. It's inspiring to watch our downtown continue to grow and evolve in ways that bring people together. And this measure essentially just formalizes the parklet permit process, which I have full confidence in the administration's ability to guide. Did you have any suggestions or further considerations?
No, I think I like the idea. I've been to quite a few cities that have it. It's a great way to get people to get downtown and hopefully patronize some of the businesses. Outdoor seating is always nice in the spring and summer. So
I
I
agree.
think it's a good idea.
Okay, so we can go, I'll move to submit the proposed ordinance to all of council.
I'll second that.
All right, so moved. On a side note, I noticed when I was looking closer at the chapter 145 for the parklet information that there is a section 145.06, departments to develop smoking policies, that was enacted in 1979, which appears to be outdated and no longer applicable. So I would like to move to request a repeal of this section.
Makes sense. I'll second.
Okay, so moved, and I will put that request in with the law director, so hopefully it will be on our agenda for the next council meeting if it needs to be. I'm not sure if it's actual a resolution or an ordinance, or if it's just a simple vote or what, but I'm sure Stephanie will be able to advise us on that. And then the second and last item under new business is concerning enacting a new section 1125.16, prohibition against tents or other unpermitted or makeshift shelters within city limits. Initially, I was somewhat confused with the distinction of recreational use and prohibited uses. But I understand now that the general prohibition does not apply to recreational use. I did think that it would improve clarity to include a definition for the makeshift shelters in section C, along with the existing definition of tent. And I kind of just did my own definition that I thought maybe we could suggest if you agreed that it would make sense to add that definition, and it would just kind of change the subsections a little bit.
Yeah, that definition makes sense to me. I think I agree with you. I was a little confused on the wording, and I
Okay.
wouldn't be opposed to adding a section specifically outline like what recreational use is, because I think
Okay.
it's, I mean, I think a reason people could disagree on like what this means.
Right.
Saying like currently living at the what was it? Something about not to exceed 7 days, or permitted to accommodate guests in a tent, residential property. But like I think the way that words it, I think you could argue that recreational use
Would apply
is
to
like
that.
kind of living in it. So I think it'd just be better to outline if it's.
So I
Stephanie can advise, but like that you're okay to have it, putting a tent up in your backyard for your kids to stay in overnight or something is fine.
Right.
Without a permit.
And that was like my initial concern until I was able to separate, okay, this is just prohibition. It's not anything other than that, but I wholeheartedly agree with that and had even kind of added a provision Like you said, Stephanie would probably be better advised on to advise on this, but I don't know if this makes sense to you. So it would just be adding a subsection here that has permitted recreational use and kind of explains the difference between the recreational and then when you go down to the next subsection, the exception for temporary use.
Yeah, just briefly reading what you have, I think it makes sense, and we should probably just run it by Stephanie to see if she has any tweaks to it. But
And it just adds the clarity issue
the
that we
clarity on
both
that it's-
had a concern with.
yeah, I think the inclusion of individuals who reside at the property distinguishes it from guests, which is in the other section. So
So just seeing if this would or something else could distinguish between individuals at their own residence versus,
yeah, I mean, whatever Stephanie thinks, I think
yeah,
what you have is a good
okay,
framework, and see if she has any like
yeah.
considerations for it. But
I'm glad we were on the same page with
I think
that.
it would be nice to distinguish, so that when if a resident reads this, they don't think they're not allowed
That
to put,
applies to their
yeah,
children camping out
or
for
they
the
have to get a
weekend or
permit 3 days in
something.
advance of having their kids camp out
Right.
inside overnight.
So the other concern I had, and I wasn't sure if this separates it at all, as businesses with tents that have pop-up tents for tent sales or something like that. Is that a concern here for them that we would need to add an additional clause or clarification on that, or I can just present the question?
Maybe present the question and see what she
Okay.
has to say, because I don't know if that's something that we'd want them to be, have a permit to get. I don't want it
Right.
to be unduly burdensome or costly to do
Right.
something like that.
Right. But how do we exclude that from the language here?
If someone using it to store stuff.
Right. Okay. So, I guess should we move to present these suggestions to have them go ahead and present a change proposed amendment to all of council, or do we need to review it after our suggestions are given?
I would almost see if maybe we can submit it to Stephanie, and then at our next meeting, we can
Okay.
like finalize the language and
Okay.
move it.
Yeah, because I
propose it
wasn't
to council.
sure the necessity as far as urgency in getting it passed and prolonging it any longer. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and just move to present our questions, suggestions, concerns, and see what we can get back from that.
Yeah, it's a good point about like the timing where people
Right.
want to do this. So I don't know if we could still motion to move it, but pending, legislative change.
Okay. I like that. I'll go ahead and second that. So we will go ahead and close both new items under new business out this evening, with the parklets being moved forward to all of council and the tents to have suggestions to be moved forward to all of council. Other than that, I didn't have any new business. Did you?
Nope.
Then we will move forward to the public portion of our meeting. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the Law and Ordinance Committee? Please, Law and Ordinance, no? Okay. That's all right. If there's nobody that needs to speak, under miscellaneous business, did you have anything?
Nothing.
I just have that the committee will meet again on Tuesday, May 19th at 5:15 here in council chambers. So I'll go ahead and move to adjourn.
Second.
So moved. The Law and Ordinance Committee has ended at 5:24 p.m. Great feedback. I'm so glad you were on the same thought train as me.
Yeah, when I first read it, that was my initial thought, was I don't want to get really burdensome if someone just wants to throw something in the bag, which I don't think was the intent of the ordinance, but
it's not
probably
clearly stated. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, someone's calling the zoning.
I'll just give this one to you too, just so that you kind of have an idea of what may or may not be tweaked from that.
If you had a picky person, they could read that and, end up calling zoning on their neighbor or something who just has kids out back.
So I was thinking of my great niece and nephew. I was like, I totally see them popping up a tent and leaving it in their hot summer for them to play in during the day.
Yeah.
But luckily, they have a privacy fence and you can't really see. And you never know. People can be petty.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works if we move something to council, because I think we need to work on the wording, but I also don't want to wait a month to even get that finalized before we then do 3 readings.
Right.
So-
That's like my biggest issue with council is just the sunshine laws and having to drag everything out. Because I wanted to call Tom and say, is it okay if we move forward with Elmhurst? But I don't think that we can. And he was the one that wanted to table it, so it's like, okay, I don't, sunshine laws slow everything down.